This is the Microsoft Lumia 950, the flagship Windows phone from Microsoft in the year 2015. Being one of the last great Windows phones ever made, it was created to compete with phones such as the iPhone 6s and Samsung Galaxy S6. The Lumia 950 and 950 XL were released at a time where Windows Phone was on a failing downward spiral due to low sales and many customers switching to iPhone or Android. This attempt at reviving the Windows Phone lineup was a failure, and Windows Phone was eventually shut down by Microsoft. And in this video, we'll be taking a look at the Lumia 950 and what it's like using it in 2020, 5 years after it was released. Firstly, don't forget to hit that like button and check out my channel, and if you like what you see, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, hit that bell notification button so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. I'm also on Discord and Instagram, and the links to those will be in the description below. Alright, let's jump right in. So first, for some history. When released on October of 2015, the 950 and 950 XL had one purpose and one purpose only, and that was to save the failing Windows Phone lineup. They were well received by phone critics for their specs and camera performance, but still failed to impress in terms of software and build quality. One of the main negatives to Windows Phone in general was the Windows Store, which was ways away inferior to the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. In the end, the 950 and 950 XL were great phones but failed at their initial task of saving the Windows Phone brand. A quick go-around of the phone reveals a mainly plastic design with a glass front. A dedicated camera shutter, volume rockers and power button are on the side. The back is flat and the camera has a slight bump to it. The 950 was available in black and white. The plastic body feels less than premium in the hand, and plastic phones like the iPhone 3GS actually feel somewhat more premium. This choice of materials was criticized back in 2015 as all its competitors were using metal and glass in their designs. The display on the Lumia 950 is a 5.2-inch 1440 by 2560 pixel AMOLED display with a pixel density of 564 pixels per inch. The glass was Gorilla Glass 3. Using this display even 5 years later is really a treat on its own. It's crisp clear and has excellent color accuracy and range. It feels extremely premium and could easily be used on a more modern smartphone even today. And according to most reviews, it actually beat the Super AMOLED display on the Samsung Galaxy S6 in many ways, and it obviously outclassed the LCD panel on the iPhone 6s. One of the main selling points for the 950 and 950 XL were their cameras. The 950 featured a 20-megapixel f1.9 shooter with Zeiss optics and optical image stabilization. It also featured a triple LED flash. Video recording up to 4K at 30 FPS was supported with stereo sound. The front cameras were basic 5-megapixel shooters. Here are some samples from the main shooter during the day and at night. And here are some video samples as well. For a 5-year-old camera, it still does an excellent job and is more than usable in 2020, still holding its own in terms of sharpness and quality. As for performance, I was pleasantly surprised by the responsiveness and load times that the 950 displayed even at this age. Something that the Galaxy S6 would not be able to do today. Most apps ran great and I didn't notice any major slowdowns. This performance is possible thanks to the Qualcomm Snapdragon 808 hexa-core processor, clocked in at 1.4 GHz on 4 cores and 1.8 GHz on 2 cores. The graphics processing is done by an Adreno 418 GPU. The 950 features 32 GB of internal storage and a microSD card slot for expansion. It also features 3 GB of RAM, which was really high for its time. The only downside of these specs is that the phone gets noticeably warm as the plastic back is not able to dissipate the heat generated sufficiently. Overheating was another major issue that the 950 was criticized by many for. As for operating system, the Lumia 950 runs Windows 10 Mobile, which occasionally got updates before it was phased out. This is not my first time using a Windows phone, as I used a Lumia 520 and 550 back when they were released. So using Windows Phone after all these years was somewhat nostalgic. Most app load times on the 950 were decently fast, and those that still are able to run worked well. Scrolling through the interface was very fluid and it felt really premium. The ability to customize colors and tile layout and size was something that I really liked. The tile wallpaper feature, which allowed for tiles to display an image, was really impressive, as well as the options in the notification center. However, this is where all the good about the software on this phone ends. The main reason that Windows Phone failed was its lack of proper app support and lack of app variety. And this is really evident in the Lumia 950. Most popular apps such as Facebook and Instagram still used browser-like interfaces to connect and are not as polished as what we would find on the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. This was due to app developers not taking much interest in the Windows Store, as it didn't bring much profit as the other two did. Due to a lack of regulation on Microsoft's end, most apps such as Facebook and YouTube had many knockoff copy apps that pretended to be them. These posed a serious security risk if one was to try and use them. Some major apps such as Snapchat were also downright unavailable for the Windows Phone Store, which prompted a lot of fakes to be made in their place. The lack of many popular games on the Windows Store also was another reason for its downfall. The games that did come to the Windows Store were very late, usually months after they were released on iOS and Android, and were extremely unpolished and full of bugs. As of January 14, 2020, the Windows 10 Mobile Store was phased out of service and all apps on it are no longer supported by updates. Using these apps is a security risk and is not recommended. Major apps such as Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp pulled their apps from the Windows Store in 2019. Therefore, unless you already have the app installed, like mine does, you cannot re-download them ever again. The basic system apps still work fine and did what they were intended to. The 3 gigs of RAM provides good multitasking and keeps apps running in the background. However, this could be affected by the lack of app updates. The Lumia 950 also featured a plethora of impressive additional features such as QI wireless charging, double tap to wake, fast charging up to 18 watts, and of course a USB Type-C connector. It also featured an iris scanner which works decently but is much slower than a fingerprint scanner and Apple's Face ID. The 3000 mAh battery drains pretty fast and won't last the entire day. This may be due to the age of this phone. However, the 950 was not known for a good battery life even when it was released in 2015, where a lot of customers had complained about mediocre battery performance. A used Lumia 950 could be bought from around $50 to $100 depending on its condition. However, these are slowly becoming collector's items and tools for Android tinkerers who are trying to find ways to load Android onto them to make use of the good specifications. So as a final verdict, I'd like to say that the Lumia 950 was an ambitious attempt by Microsoft to save a failing lineup which eventually was sadly shut down. The impressive specs and camera were just not enough to urge people into choosing the 950 over iPhones and Android phones, mainly due to the poor Windows app ecosystem. Personally, I wouldn't recommend using a Lumia 950 or any Windows phone for that matter in 2020 and beyond, as their lack of app and security updates make them unsafe in many ways. The lack of app support will also just make them more and more unusable in time to come. However, they still make good phones to add to your collection, and if you find one for a decent enough price, go for it. So finally, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget to hit that like button and check out my channel, and if you like what you see, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in my next one.